Hi, I'm Alana. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're doing a get ready with me for church. So I would like to begin with two book recommendations that I have been reading this week. This first one is called Deprivation and Delinquency by Donald Winnicott. So Donald Winnicott was one of the fathers of child psychiatry and psychoanalysis. So this is kind of more of a clinical book, but at the moment I'm reading the section about the roots of aggression. So it's just like a collection of his papers. And if you're interested in psychology or psychiatry or psychoanalysis, this is a really good book. And then the next book that I want to recommend that I have been reading this week is called This Is How You Remember It by Catherine Prasivka. So I've actually read a few of her books and she's a really good writer. And so this book is it's basically about a girl who's 9 years old, and she's 9 years old at the start of the novel. And then she's like growing up throughout it, and she discovers the computer and the internet for the first time. And she discovers like pornography for the first time. And so it's like her experience growing up, being a girl and like encountering pornography, and then like blossoming and going through puberty herself, and her relationship with her body, and like seeing these strange naked people online and knowing that it's wrong but not quite knowing why. And yeah, I really loved that book. It's obviously a work of fiction, and I'm only about halfway through it, but it's really good so far. And on that note, that brings us to my next topic of today, which is a very unique profession. So recently I've been listening to interviews on Soft White Underbelly with people who work in corn, people who are corn stars in the adult entertainment industry. So I listened to one interview with a man called Jack Vegas, and he spoke about how he was actually in like waste disposal, I think, and he kind of like found it didn't really fulfill him. And then one day he was at a hotel or something, and he saw like a whole bunch of corn stars because they were having some kind of like a conference for people in the adult industry. And he was like, wow, these people look so like happy and thriving. And then he thought, well, why couldn't I be a corn star? And so that's how he got into corn. And then one day he met Ron Jeremy, and he was like, oh my gosh, you're like my hero. And Ron Jeremy was like, oh really? You and I should go back to your hotel room and like hang out. And he was like, what? I can't believe this. Like, I'm hanging out with Ron Jeremy, my favorite corn star. And so they all went. Well, he was with one of his female friends, and then also his wife, I believe. And so they all went back to his hotel room, and he was like, well, I want to get a photo of me with Ron Jeremy, but oh no, the battery in my camera is dead. And then Ron Jeremy was like, oh, well, there's a store across the street where you can definitely just go and buy a new battery. And he was like, you know what? I'll do that. You guys just wait here in my hotel room. I'm going to run across the street and buy a new battery for my camera. And so he did that. And then when he came back to his hotel room, his friend and his wife were both blowing Ron Jeremy. And he was like, oh my goodness, how do I respond to this? And instead of running away or being angry, he decided to stay and film it. And then Ron Jeremy told him afterwards, like, when you did that, I felt like this guy is really cut out for the porn industry. Like, I think that for the corn industry. And he was like, yeah, I think that you could be a corn star. And he just felt so touched by this encouragement by Ron Jeremy. And then he went on to do great things in the corn industry. And then I listened to a couple. Well, they were previously a couple. They're not a couple anymore, but they are both corn stars. the girl's name is Mckenzie, and then I think the man's name was Jack or something. And so they were in a relationship for a while, but then like it didn't, because she kept so he was like directing porn or something, and he owned a strip club and she was one of the strippers, and she kept inviting him to have threesomes with her. And then one day he was like, well, I just can't pass up this offer anymore. So he took her up on the offer of one of her threesomes, and then they got together, and they were together for a few years, but eventually it didn't work out because she was like, their corn styles were very different. Like, I think his name was Jack. He was more of a romantic, more of a Casanova when it came to his corn, but she was more into like the extreme sports kind of corn. So she really liked to like push her body to the limits and see like what she could do in terms of like going to extremes with her corn. But then he was more like, he liked it like slow and romantic. So when they did scenes together, it would be very stressful for everyone involved, because he would be like, you know, doing her, and she would be like, is that all you got? And so now they're not together anymore, but they're still really good friends. And then I listened to another interview with a girl called, I think her name was Jasmine, and she is an OnlyFans model, or a webcam model, I think she identifies as. But she actually used to be a lawyer, and so she was talking about like her father's disappointment that she had gone into corn, and she said that her corn site is really popular because she is Middle Eastern, and there aren't a lot of Middle Eastern girls doing corn and OnlyFans because they come from a very conservative culture and it's so frowned upon. So for that reason, her OnlyFans site is really popular, and also because she is like an intelligent young woman. And so she started doing law, and like she finished her law degree, and then she got a job, and then she worked there for a while, but then she was like also doing OnlyFans, and then she just decided that she felt more fulfilled by OnlyFans, I guess. And so then she quit her job as a lawyer to pursue OnlyFans full time. And now she said that she will do like, on her site, she'll do like, say, an hour-long discussion where she just talks, fully dressed. She just talks about like free will or something like that for an hour. And then after that, she will do a live orgasm on the same site. And so I can see why she would be popular. Oh, and then I listened to a woman who was not a Cornstar, but she was very, very passionate about gangbangs. And like, she's a really, really poised, really well put together, really intelligent young woman, but she just has this passion for gangbangs. And so she was talking about like how that works out for her, and she said that she will just like put an ad out, and she likes to do gangbangs with up to 50 men at a time, and that she like kind of gets to know them. Like, she has regulars who she does these gangbangs with. Her name was Shy. Yeah, her name was Shy. And so she talked about what that's like for her doing gangbangs, and like she just really loves them and finds them really fulfilling. Like, that's her thing. And she spoke about how one time she was doing a gangbang, and and this man came up to her after it, and he said that he had prostate cancer and he hadn't been able to nut in like 10 years. And after the gangbang, this man came up to her with tears in his eyes and said, "I was able to nut today." And so I found that quite touching. And so, thank you for getting ready with me for church today. You're beautiful, you're perfect, I love you, God bless you. If you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.